Welcome to The Breakdown, brought to you by PaintballAccess.com. I'm Matty Marshall with Todd Martinez, and today we're talking about Coach of the Year candidates. Todd, I'm sorry. Really wanted to put you in this one, bud.
Didn't make it?
No, bro, I'm sorry. I don't mean to break it to you like this, but yeah, you're making it in this one. I mean, hey, Todd did a great job this year with Omaha Vicious, did a great job with, you're giving me that look.
I was in the top 20 though, right?
For sure.
Okay, good.
Yeah, top 20.
Top 20.
Actually, yeah, for sure. You were actually right below the other dude, and you did an amazing. Todd did a great job with Omaha Vicious, but the fact that Vicious still is an upper echelon of the Champions Division, you know what I'm saying?
I got you.
Okay,
it's okay.
All right. So let's get into it here. First up, first nominee, Rusty Glaze from San Diego Dynasty. Todd, how do you think Rusty Glaze has been helming San Diego Dynasty so far?
It's hard to win a PSP event. It's even harder to win two. It's harder to win them back-to-back. Rusty Glaze, coach of San Diego Dynasty, was able to win 2 events this year. However, those 2 wins did come at the very beginning of the year in the first 2 tournaments, and then kind of tailed after that. First, second in Chicago, and then 5th and 5th at the West Coast Open and at the World Cup. So Rusty Glaze, coach of the team that won the overall series championship and 2 tournaments, really hard to argue with that.
Yeah, I mean, Rusty Glaze, I think, makes a strong case for Coach of the Year. I think there's a couple other guys in here that could give him a run, though. But, yeah, I mean, you're taking a dynasty that last year took 8th overall. I mean, that's terrible for San Diego Dynasty, arguably the best team ever, over 55 tournament wins in the 10 years, over 10 years now that they've been around. Actually, they're going to be coming up on, well, regardless. San Diego Dynasty is one of those amazing top-tier pro teams and has been from the second that dynasty name was created. And for Rusty Glaze to step off the playing field, which he was, I mean, he was a rostered member of that team, played on the team 2012, and they came to him and hey, we can't think of anyone better than you to help this team and guide us forward. Sure enough, Rusty Glaze comes in and starts doing different practice stuff, different things in practice, and really kind of working with the talent. And historically, Dynasty is kind of hard to coach. A lot of really dominant personalities on that team. And also guys, I mean, how do you go to a Ryan Greenspan or an Oliver Lang or an Alex Frazier or Yosh Rao and say, hey, I really think you need to do it this way? I mean, those are guys that, if they wanted to, are going to move on to be great coaches themselves and instant Hall of Famers. But at the same time, Rusty Glaze taking Dynasty from 8th overall to 1st overall, winning 2 events this year, making a real strong case for Coach of the Year. Now let's move on to Bart Yagnik from Edmonton Impact. Impact ended up ranked 2nd overall. So consistent this year, Todd.
Yeah. The thing that Bart Yagnik does have over Rusty Glaze is the fact that Impact was the most consistent team this year. They never missed a Sunday. And this in 2013 season, it was the hardest year in the history of the PSP to be able to make it because they cut out the quarterfinal round. It was top 4, and that's it. So you basically had to finish top 2 in your bracket, and Edmonton Impact was the only team that was able to do that all season.
Yeah, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. So it went constantly up the entire year. They weren't able to win an event, though, and that's kind of been an age-old paintball argument. And I've always been on record. I would rather take a 1st and a 7th, a 1st and an 8th, than 3rds across the board. That's just the way that I was raised in the game, and I still preach that to this day, because at the end of the day, winning tournaments is the most important thing. Winning championships is the most important thing. So, yeah, okay, so they got a 3rd, 2 thirds, 2 seconds, and a 4th. Amazing. It's admirable. But those W's are so important. But they talk about a team on its way to some wins.
Yeah.
I mean, they only got stronger. They picked up Rainey. And Bart is talking what we're talking about Coach of the Year right now. Who wins GM of the Year? We're talking off camera, and Todd, you brought this up. GM of the Year for sure is Bart Yagnik.
Yeah, he did a good job of, the best job of assembling a team of all really liked players. All guys that are highly intelligent, highly talented, and great communicators. He put together a team of players that really fit in with the core member of his team. Picking up Dave Baines, Greg Sewers, and Justin Rabikoff was just a great fit for Justin Cornell, Zach Yakimak, Zane Yakimak, Joshua met. You know, the team that he put together was just a really, really solid, intelligent team. And, I mean, they lost a heartbreaker at the West Coast Open to Kevin Bredthauer's Tampa Bay Damage.
Yeah.
And in Chicago, I know that they got a ton of penalties is what cost them. And at World Cup, getting majors in the finals is what cost them there. So, I mean, they came very, very close a few times and, you know, very easily could have won any one of the tournaments that they played this season. But, you know, a couple tough losses on Sunday, and that's what cost them the series title and a couple victories this year.
And also, they finished 12th at the World Cup last year. Edmonton Impact, who the most consistent team, ended up 12th at the World Cup last year, lost to Excessive, and, you know, really did not do well at all. And then all of a sudden, boom, they come in, rank 2nd overall, did so well. So, you know, is it Bart Yagnik, Rusty Glaze? Let's move on. How about Jason Troezen from Houston Heat?
Jason Troezen, again, proven that he's another dominant coach, can come in, won a tournament this year. And the 2 fifths that Houston Heat took in the beginning of the year, I mean, they played pretty well. And again, it was just super hard to make Sunday in the 2013 season. Took 5th the first 2 events, all just missed Sunday, got them fired up, got them right back in Chicago, and took that first when they beat San Diego Dynasty, who had made the finals for the 3rd time in a row. So he was able to dethrone Dynasty after winning 2 events and still prove that Houston Heat was a top-tier team and get them back onto the podium. So Jason Troezen, you know, he's won 4 events out of the 10 that he coached with Houston Heat in the past 2 seasons, and you know, you just can't take him off this list.
But absolutely, and that's why he's on here. Well, 1, they won an event. 2, it's Houston Heat. They were ranked 4th overall. But we have to take just this year into consideration. So just this year, talking about a 5th, a 5th, a 1st, a 4th, and a 3rd. That's still a really good run. So Jason Troezen, Houston Heat, in the hunt for sure. And let's move on to, I think, a very interesting combo here, both in personality, look, experience, but honestly, it became the magic ticket for San Antonio X Factor. It's Coach Ryan Brand and Coach Paul Richards, who after, you know, struggling all year long, I mean, you want to talk about an amazing story. You know, watch the roster from Planet Eclipse. You know, go check out their website, planeteclipse.com, because the story of X Factor this year, who ended up winning the World Cup, the hardest thing to do in paintball is win the PSP Series title. That's the hardest thing to do in paintball. But the hardest tournament to win is the World Cup. And that's a feather you get to put in your cap, and, you know, whatever metaphor, wear the belt, the trophy, it doesn't matter, man. I mean, once you get that world title, that's bucket list stuff right there if you're a competitive paintball player. And Ryan Brand and Paul Richards led San Antonio X Factor to that bucket list fulfillment World Cup victory after taking 10th, 6th, 8th, 6th, 1st.
Yeah, and that's why they're on this list, because they definitely played a few relegation games this season. But I mean, it all comes down to the end of the year. The hardest tournament to win, like you said, Matty, is World Cup.
What have you done for me lately? Yeah. Won a World Cup? Well, okay, yeah, you're on the list, you know? Yeah. And the drastic shift from underperformance, penalties, World Cup victory.
Yeah, well, we talk about how close it is between taking a 5th and making that Sunday. It is just as close between making Sunday and playing in a relegation game. X Factor played some really good matches this season, but were just killed by penalties and, you know, just constant mistakes. But I mean, they played those relegation games. They were able to stay in the Champions Division all year. They always won those relegation games, you know, and they were on the verge of not even making Sunday at World Cup. But because of some magic there at the end, they were able to make it onto Sunday, and then they took it and went all the way to the top with it.
Yeah. It just was a magical year for San Antonio X Factor. It really was. I mean, when you know those guys, you know that story, the fact that they did end up winning the World Cup, and it just really proves that they are a top team, which they've been, you know, trying to tell the world and prove to the world for this long, and they were able to do it. And Ryan Brand and Paul Richards, you know, really kind of tag teamed it. You know, they had a situation where, you know, Paul Richards would really help out in practices and really help bring structure to the team and really help get in there and help the guys with that mental game. And Ryan Brand, who coached them last year and did a good job trying to, and Ryan Brand used to be a player on the team. You know, so Ryan Brand and Paul Richards, they make a strong case as well, too. What do you think about Kevin Bredthauer, Tampa Bay Damage?
Well, Kevin Bredthauer, I really think that he's a great coach. I actually got to play for Kevin Bredthauer for 1 season on Dynasty, And I just love his attitude. I love his approach to the game. I thought he did a good job with the Ironman in 2012, but just, struggled with a lot of inexperience and rookies. I feel like he's got a great understanding for a game. He was a back player, played in front of him for a while. And, he started off his career as a front player. When Dynasty was formed, moved to the back, was that guy that carried 18 pods and went out there and shot as much paint. He understands how the game unfolds. He understands players. He understands attitudes. But his number one thing is it's all about business. When you show up, you're either getting the job done or you're not. And that's why Jacob Edwards left. He didn't feel like he was getting his spins. He thought that he was just going to deserve to play. But Kevin Brettauer was like, no, it's who's ever playing the best right now is going to play. And that's how it is.
He's a cutthroat coach, but you kind of need that.
You have to have that.
You got to have that.
That's the reason why he's been successful.
Yeah, 5 best. You can give me a 5 best. Or whatever way you think it's going to work, but it's got to be the best guys get out there, and that's how Kevin Brettauer rolls. And you can't argue with second, fifth, first. They did win an event this year. They did take 3rd overall. Last year they were ranked 2nd, and when he was with the Ironman ranked 4th last year, which is pretty amazing considering how rookie boot that team was. But regardless, still, those are the 5 nominees, 6 if you include the 2 for San Antonio X Factor for Coach of the Year 2013. So who's it going to be? Who do you guys think it's going to be? This is open for interpretation. Absolutely, we're going to have to find out. But like us across our social networks, Facebook, Instagram. Thank you guys for tuning in to Paintball Access. Help us spread the paintball gospel. I'm Matty Marshall. Todd Martinez here on The Breakdown, brought to you by Paintball Access. See you next time.
How many countries I've visited,
how many miles you've traveled,
how many paintballs you've shot at different people,
how much baby powder I've used, how many hotels we've trashed,
how many places I've driven,
how many guns I've gone through,
how much I love the game.
It's all the times that you had to tell your family that you couldn't be there for this or that because you were going to play paintball.
How many friends I've gotten out of it.
That's just why I love paintball.
That's why I love paintball.
That's why I love paintball.
But that's why I love paintball.
There are massive opportunities, both for the sport of paintball and for your business. If we are successful in taking our sport to another level, unite with Paintball Access in our quest to elevate paintball and broadcast it to the world. There are advertising packages available for any size business. Join us. Advertise with PBA and help us change the sport for the better forever.